So I'll start with, as a facilitator, try to give you some overview, and then later on the opening remarks would be by Mr. Shankar Lal, who's heading from the World Bank side. Then we have the next one is Sanjay Agarwal, was supposed to be there from Ministry of Finance as a director. But for some reason, yesterday also he told me he will try, but he has a meeting today again in the ministry. So, but certainly we'll share with him whatever outcome comes from this. Then we are expecting Mr. Sandeep Verma. He promised us, let's see when he comes up. He's the Director General from the Rajasthan State Institute of Public Administration. Then Mr. Krishnan is there, so who's our board members, I will say the founding board members. And he has got a wide range of experience in railways, the public sectors, and he has been working as a consultant for the World Bank as well. Then we would like to have some remarks from the Krishnan also, who is also our, after Krishnan, then we'll have Shivendra Kumar, who is also a board members. I've requested Niti Aayog guys also. Still, he has not got his approval from the government because in joining any group, so he was saying he want to get the reports around. He may join in, that he was trying to say. So his name is T. Kabilan, he's our director. And then what we will do is, our plan is to finish all this thing within half an hour, and the next half an hour, we leave it for the open session. So open session means that's what we are more interested around, to know your feedback, your perspective, how we can make it a useful exercise. So far, I'm very happy, at least on the network side, when I see the WhatsApp group, I would say it's remarkable, very active. Every day we see around 25, 30 messages around, people writing very, I would say very knowledgeable ideas around, they pass on. So this is how we look around. So what we expect around, I mean, I feel all of you have seen the roadmap, fine. Otherwise, I thought still I'll walk through the key points of the roadmap. And then based on the roadmap, we have got the key questions. But don't think that is the end of this around. So based on those key questions, we expect your ideas, feedback. That's how, based on the agenda, we work. So let me take a few minutes with you guys just to set the tone, which we have sent you already. So let me see if I can see in this one screen side. Okay, this is what I have shared, we have shared with you. And this is again the input from many of you people around. What we kept in this one was, we had kept, what exactly is PPI? I think we already explained around. This is, all of us know the public sector procurement is around 25% of the GDP. You can imagine around, it contributes a big share to the GDP also. If you look in a broadly the GDP concept, 57% come from the customers, the consumer spend around. 22%, 25% is coming from here. The rest may be export and investments around. It's a big contributions around. Any savings here, any effective use of these funds, we can get a much better leverage around. So this is the basic background was there to start with the PPI. I know government has come up with a beautiful framework around. I had a chance to work on that 2017 GFR. It's very well done. They are promoting already the concept of e-procurement. E-procurement has become a mandatory, but still I find in many state governments, wherever I had a chance to work on it, it is still in the very beginning stage. And now we are talking of digital India. And when we talk of digital India, we are very far off from that. So still we have to complete the step, I would say the basic step of strategic sourcing. So strategic sourcing we are not reached, and strategic sourcing to me is more like procurement 3.0. And if I want to get into digital world, it is procurement 4.0. There's still a long way to go. I know government is coming with beautiful ideas around guidelines. This is where we thought that Sanjay would join us and come with his own inputs. But I think we as a partners, we all as a stakeholders with the governments, because all of you are in the public sectors, we expect that if our mindset is changed, what we want to see the India in next 5 years, 10 years in the public sectors, well, that's what the focus is. This was launched on 24th September. Most of you know it very well. Again, it was launched by the Director of Procurement of the World Bank. Now, what we are looking at the scope of the PPI activities around. The very first thing is awareness. Like any other project, any other programs, the first thing is to create the awareness. That's what we are trying to do. Awareness part, we are trying to do it in a big way. We have started already on the Google map and this everywhere we are trying to do it, whichever way we can do it. Second is the reach and influence. Our major focus on the reach and influence is the government, obviously, and then the World Bank officials. Then we have the UN people, the reach. This is a broad one, but there are still private sector people. I've seen some of them who have joined. I know those who are joining today also. Few people are from the private sector because they also want to know about the public sector because they're selling their goods and services to the government. Then come the next is the certification part because everybody thinks, guys, okay, I joined this group around. Can I get some certification? Can I get some knowledge? So this is where we have, and the networking part is another one, which we have started already two groups around, one on the IPSM, and second is PPA, triple PAI, I would call it. And lastly is the training and consulting. So when we're doing certification, something will come on the training side. Consulting part, we are already doing in the private sector quite a lot on the transformation side. We're done for Wipro, we are done for many other companies around. How to transform from X level to Y level. But today, when we're talking of digitization, everybody's talking of this one. So this is the way we are working on this reach and influence, I thought to you. And we are very lucky to have some sound, very good thought leaders in our board. So we expect that we'll work around. Networking, I've explained you already. The main thing which looks around is, which I want some input from you. Now, the competency framework. Whenever we talk of competency, when 10 years back, when I was involved with PDPP, the competency framework was totally different. It was more of a transaction type. Let me be honest with you. Today, it has moved from transactions. Transactions still contributes 80 to 90% work. We want to reverse it. If 80% could become strategic and 20% could become transaction, I know it's a big wishful thinking, but in the private sector, it's going very well, let me tell you. I can quote many names around where it's working. So why not in the government also? So government has given already the e-procurement as a mandatory. Many things are coming from NIC, I've seen around. I'm working very closely with NIC. We have developed the coding system, taxonomy also with NIC. We have done some project with them. Very first, I look as the policy and the process part. And I did this thing in 92, 93, even in the UN also. When those days I was a director for them. So what we did was, we said, guys, everybody has to know the rules and regulations. If you can't, that would be just called level 1 certification. If you don't know it, you're not even fit for it. That's a very basic thing. Then the second thing comes, the functional requirements, analytical skill. Most of the people in public sectors have survived on the very first thing. I know the rules, I know the steps. That is not good enough. I think we need to know more on the analytical side. What is strategic? What is technical competencies around? And how do we execute it? That's the one we're looking at. The third area which we're looking around is the stakeholders engagement. I mean, if I look as a buyer, as a spec somebody has given me, I don't even question them, guys. Can you change the specifications? Can we do this? Can we work together? I think the stakeholders with the supplier, stakeholders could be your customers, stakeholders could be industry. So all wide range of stakeholders, which we call today's word is SRM, SRM, SRM. Then SPM also we are looking at. The last but not the least is, which in the past never got that much impact in the last 3 to 4 years. If I go 4 years back, nobody talked about the capability and technology. I have seen myself, even as a chairperson, oh, whenever we talk about technology, they say, oh, let IT people come and tell us. But then we found, we guys are the leaders. We also have to understand the business side of the technology. I'm not saying we have to become the programmer per se, but we have to look into the business side. So the system capabilities, technology, if I want to move from, say, let's say ERP level, to me, ERP, when I implemented in 2005, I was the most happy person. I said, guys, I'm leading a wonderful projects for 200 country offices and had a chance to visit around 89 countries to implement it. But now I find the ERP has become obsolete. To me, let me be honest with you, it's a very good enterprise system to connect. But when we look from the procurement context, all of you know very well, all the data is going around. Are we getting intelligence out of data? So we need to move to e-procurement, which I know still a long way to go. Then from e-procurement, we have to move to the digital world. When we hear the Prime Minister, digital India, are we able to do it? Because public sector is also buying from private sector. So when we deal with the private sector, so we also have to follow Industry 4.0. So that's where I feel this is very, very important around. So this also is one of the competency which we thought around. Now coming back to this, I think this is where I'll spend a little few minutes around. We have done 3 levels of certification. The very first one is PCPP, Professional Certificate of Public Procurements. And second is Advanced Certificate of Public Procurement. And the last is Professional Diploma of Public Procurement, which was the one exactly the old ones, but we are revising it by adding the few new competencies on. The key competency which we are adding up is strategic sourcing, SRMs, all those chapters we have put it around, because if you want to go into that, our people have to get used to it. And the technology part, certainly we have added a big chapter on this. Earlier there was an e-procurement, but now we are moving into the complete digital world also. Then there's another program which is for those public sectors like railways and others who are dealing with the complete supply chain. They're not dealing only procurement, they're dealing with the complete supply chain. So this supply chain certification comes from the United Nations. I would say they're done very well. It's from the ITC Geneva. They're also our partners in this launch. So we have the 4 modules: sourcing, operation, logistics, and planning. So anything you do, you get an international certificate from ITC Geneva with the UN logo. So this is how it is there around. And coming back to this one, this we have tried to do it around who's for whom and what matches up. So since you already got the copies around, you don't need to spend time on this. The benefits, let me say this way: maintain, enhance the knowledge and skill. This is how we look around. Again, I wish I will get some more feedback from you guys on this. So what we are looking at is the knowledge part and the skill part. It is not simple knowledge. Knowledge I can get from the books, but the skill part, how do I do it? The hands-on thing. So that is very important around skills part. Inspires a continuous improvement, because when all the people who are knowledgeable, expert in the people around, the thought leaders, when they join together, always a desire to improve upon. That's what we look at it. Then competency assessment, I think this is a good thing we do all the time. We try to check the competency. We have the tools, which our headquarters have done it. We have the competency tools, and similarly, we are designing for public sectors also. Some we have already done. So we can assess the people, what areas they're poor. Free access to webinars, weekly quiz. I'm sure all of you are getting the weekly quiz. I would love to get a feedback from you guys after this during the open session. Is it really helping you? Is it exciting? The webinar, the one we are doing next week, is on blockchain, which is again part of technology. So I know many people have already started webinars. I know some of the companies around. So we'll do this webinar on blockchain next week for all of you, and we wish for it. Then we have 3 levels of certifications. Demonstrates a commitment to professionalism, higher workplace performance. We expect by participating in this, you are able to motivate your own management and other people to change. Improves the morale and motivation. And weekly newsletter, which I'm sure you're getting it from Arun, is sending to all of you guys who have become the members. So please give us a feedback if you feel we can make it much better around. This is here, the word is already changed, the price to cost to strategic sourcing to category and value management. So you all know where we are still, but the private sector is still moving into category and value part. Value means we're really getting into the digital world. So this is where we stand today. When I look at the procurements, the tactical part is a major dominating. All of you know very well, 80% time is gone into this and 20% is strategic part. And we want to reverse it. And we started this in end of 80s, I would say in 1991. I was the chief of R&D for the supply chain in the UN. And that's the time we did this thing around. We made long-term agreements. We did those things around, and we made it some differences as well. But I'm sure others can do it. And that time I was coordinating with the World Bank on harmonization. We did this. So this is where the industrial revolution, all of you know very well. And the government, if India is pushing into manufacturing hub, want to become the supply chain hub, Industry 4.0 is a must. And the procurement also has to become procurement 4.0. So the PDPP guidelines, which we're developing it, the manual, I think it is basically keeping in mind this one. The digital era is there around. I don't need to say more words on this. Tomorrow is all about this. digital transformation. But behind all of this is people, people, people. So people mean this is where we are expecting from all of you to spread the words around. Guys, we need to change. We need to have a different thinking around. Certainly, we will be working with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Finance on this matters around. Sanjay has already agreed with me. So we'll have frequent meeting with them, how we can convince them around. So this is where we stand on the procurement. If you look around MRP, when I started my career, MRP was there around, ERP came later, then e-procurements, which government has already done, mandatory per se. But I know it is still on the ground level, not gone. And next one is procurement 4.0, which is the digital era. And we still are going ahead. Well, we have a training portfolios. So we have set some questions around. What I will do is not now. So after everybody has gone through their own remarks around on the as per the agenda, then in the open session, we have some key questions, but this is not the limiting you. So we expect that we want to get your ideas, thoughts, and how to make it much more future useful around for everyone. Well, with this, friends, I want to thank you all. Then I move to the agenda items. Next one, that means the opening remarks by Mr. Shankar Lal from the World Bank. Shankar, you are all there?
Yeah, thank you. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Shankar,
So
Arun, you can put the posters around.
I will do so.
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Good morning to all the members and other invitees. And first of all, I want to thank ISM-INDIA and Mr. Batra for inviting me as World Bank representative for this particular event. I will be very brief, and I'll be just be sharing the perspective from the World Bank side, how we are involved in this initiative. So as everyone is aware, and Mr. Batra has mentioned that the size of public procurement in India is a 25% or maybe a little less of GDP. And if you convert that to monetary term, it comes to around $600 billion per year procurement by the government and government agencies. And why World Bank is interested in this area? Because we are working for poverty alleviation. We feel that if we improve the efficiency of procurement through professionalization, and if we are able to save even say 1% of the total expenditure on public procurement, that can actually be used, that saving can be used for addressing the poverty in the country, and other social sector schemes can be financed out of the saving. So the procurement professionalization is directly relevant to the objectives of the World Bank, and that is why we are so much interested in this initiative. Just to give you background, when the discussion was started on this, we had a workshop in Bhutan last year in the month of April, which was attended by all the South Asian countries. And the theme of the workshop was professionalization of public procurement. And the recommendations which came out of the workshop were uh, to start with, let us look at the setting up of public procurement association in each of the countries. So we actually tried to work on the concept note and identify the partner organization for around a year time. And thereafter, we actually got in touch with Mr. Batra, and thereafter we started working jointly on this initiative. Incidentally, in this duration, World Bank has also conducted assessment of public procurement system of the country using MAPS 2 methodology. And one of the recommendation which has come out of that assessment also is professionalization. So professionalization is a sort of, I'll say, very hot topic currently for public procurement, and the government is equally interested on this topic. As every one of you are already aware, India is a very diverse country, and we have islands of excellence in public procurement also. In particular, the SOE, state-owned enterprise and public sector undertaking. Many of them are using the world-class technologies for public procurement. But at the same time, we have certain departments and certain organizations which are at very sort of basic level. So one of the functions of this association is also sharing of the experience and sharing of ideas, so that the island of excellence can contribute to development of good practices in other parts of the country. And I'm sure that this has already started happening through the WhatsApp group and other means, but in future we will have much more focus on this area. Then there is a need for continuous professional development, because if you compare situation of India with other countries, I can give example of SIPs, where in career procurement professionals they try to obtain either training or certification, and we feel that it is very important for development of the public procurement profession in the country. So the association will be contributing, and I think Mr. Batra has already shared the initiatives which are already designed and to be launched very recently. Second, I think area where association can very greatly contribute is to provide the inputs to the government, because as of now, whenever government comes out with any new procurement policy, there is no counterpart to provide them inputs, and the consultation is quite ad hoc. So what we are actually envisaging that once there is a critical volume of public procurement professionals, they can also contribute to the government and provide their expert comments on the various policy initiatives, which will actually help the government, not just the government of India, but also the state governments in sort of improving their procurement policies and procedures. The third, I think, area where we see a lot of value addition by the association is the role of private sector, because private sector is equally important partner in public procurement process, because they are the supplier or service provider or the consultants. And what we feel that this association will provide them platform to share their sort of inputs on public procurement, because as of now in India, the relationship between the supplier and the buyer is very adversarial. So we feel that this association will provide a platform for exchange of ideas, and it will actually gradually improve the relationship, and we will actually look for a sort of partnership model in future, so that there is a win-win sort of situation for both the parties. Uh, Lastly, what we feel that public procurement is one of the parameters which define the image of a government. And if there is an improvement in public procurement function, it also improves the image of government. So from government side also, this initiative, yeah, this initiative from government side is also very important. So the roadmap what we are discussing today is going to largely define where the association goes in future. And from World Bank side, I can assure that we will be providing all the supports which will be required for growth of association, and also the professionalization of public procurement in India. So
Can you mute yourself? I think I think some disturbance coming around. Please.
So let me stop here, and if there are any further questions, I'm available to respond. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shankarji. And then we move to the next one, I think is Sandeep Verma. I didn't see whether he has joined us or not. Sandeep, are you there?
Not, I think. He's not joined yet.
Okay, no worry. Then we go down to the next one is Mr. Krishnan. Mr. Krishnan, you are there. Am I right? The board.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Krishnan
So-
is a member, founding member, and I've already briefed you about his background, so I'll leave it to Krishnan. Please go ahead. Krishnan, any feedback, any remarks?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Yeah,
Yes.
good.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good, thanks. Um, My queries or comments were actually aimed more for the government side. And unfortunately, Sanjay is not here because as pointed out by Shankar, public procurement has a huge chunk of the uh, money is involved. Private sector, by definition, it's working for a profit, and they would hopefully be looking after the ideal way of doing procurement, and maybe they will improve somewhat. But public procurement is the area where we need some more attention. Uh, we had a workshop last year were organized by World Bank and somebody. In that, one thing which the Secretary Expenditure was there, and Bangladesh had presented the situation, status of procurement in their country. So it was quite good to see the Bangladesh government official saying that the number of SIPS certified staff in their procurement group is quite a number. So I had suggested to the Secretary Expenditure that in government procurement, except say railways, defense, and a couple of other PSUs, the procurement people handling the procurement are not adequately trained. So we need some kind of training for them. Now, hello.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So if you leave it to as an optional thing, it doesn't work out. So we need some kind of a pressure on incentive or whatever. So I had suggested to the secretary that why don't you mandate that at least for high value tenders, one of the staff handling the procurement should be certified in procurement. And that is where our ISM, this group will come in. We don't, the equivalent of the SIPs for India. So I hope, and I thought Sanjay, we could maybe like in a future dialogue, we could pursue this aspect with him. And then unless there is a pressure, nobody will do it. So either you mandate it or plus you have some incentives like increments. If you take this course, you get an additional increment, etc., etc. And the added problem is like I'm from railways. After 30 years in railways and 10 years in World Bank, I find that the people think by delegating procurement purchase powers, we've done a great thing. There is no check. You can go ahead, do what you want. But unless it is married with some proper norms of expenditure, like take the railways, for instance. If you we should have a norms for how much should be the money involved in doing a repair of a coach in the annual wherever schedule. Unless you have that, how do you relate expenditure to the actual norm and how good you are? So these sort of norms are not there, which is part of the procurement function, which unfortunately is absent today. So all these areas, hopefully through the association and the dialogue with the government and our various procurement forces, we hope we should be able to influence or help government. And then Mr. Batra had referred to one aspect about value for money, which is where my point was about the norms, which is very important. I think we're not having adequate emphasis on this presently. And lastly, of course, like Shankar said, there is a huge gap in there is no feedback for the government policies. Like there is no think tank with which government can or should share their major policies and get feedback from institutes like ours and then form the policy. Otherwise, we have a recent example of a ministry issuing Make in India circulars in the last 6 months with 6 variations. And unfortunate thing is, of course, which I've been emphasizing, that all procurement related circulars should be done by the finance ministry, not others. Any case, what I mean is there are a lot of contradiction. If only they had somebody to give a feedback on their circulars, they would be avoiding such mistakes. So anyway, all this is more for the government, which is absent today, but hopefully we'll share these things later on. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnan. Now we have Mr. Shivendra Kumar, who is also from the railways, and then he has worked with the World Bank, and he's a thought leader, again, a good member for us. Mr. Shivendra Kumar, your remarks.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I don't find much. Most of the items are already covered. Just a few small things I would mention. I was looking at the membership that we have opened. I find something like life membership is not there. Probably, I don't know whether you would like to have it. I thought that that would be useful, because then you don't have to look around for members, or you don't have to make sure that the members have to renew every year. Second thing, I was looking at this WhatsApp group that has got created, and I'm really uh, appreciative of what is happening. The amount of discussion that is occurring, the amount of inputs that are coming into the group is really large. I was only wondering whether it would be worthwhile that whatever attachments come or whatever reports come there, can they be put into, maybe just dumped into a library? And of course, if we can classify it, that's different, but at least dump them into a single virtual library, where if somebody wants to search for an item that has been submitted or put in by somebody, whether that would be available and could be used. Third thing, again, sorry, first I'm starting with membership. Every member has to feel connected. And of course, newsletter is the right way. It works very well. To have the members getting connected with what is happening with the system. I was only wondering, I don't know, although probably it was mentioned somewhere, apparently at some point we should start with a small journal. Of course, it will be any journal, nothing like a printout. Any journal will connect people. Many of them will start contributing. Some of them will start reading. If you think that would be worthwhile, maybe we could consider it. As far as policies are concerned, we have already talked a lot about it. Currently, apparently, I don't think the government is going the way towards professionalizing the public procurement. It seems to me that we are going the other way around. As Mr. Krishnan mentioned, there has to be a delegation of power which has to be linked to the checks and balances and the professionalism that is available. Doesn't seem to be happening that way. In fact, Government of India had two services which were in the area of public procurement. And sorry, not two, three. And now we find that one of them is totally gone. That was the DGSNT. The second was railways. It's, I think, on the brink of getting decimated. The third one, which is still surviving, is of course the procurement of what's the PWDs, basically PWD, etc. So it doesn't seem to be going that way. Sorry, I'm not saying that our association is big enough to start making suggestions to the government, but the dialogue and the inputs from the association that Mr. Shankalal mentioned and Mr. Krishnan mentioned, at some point, as our critical mass grows, would become very, very useful, and I think would be required. That's all what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivendra. I think nice ideas around. I think we'll certainly discuss in our next board meeting when we come up. Yeah. Okay, guys, then we have, I don't know whether till Sandeep has come up. I don't see his name. So we have Usha. I don't know. Sorry, Usha, I'm putting you on the spot. Usha is the director from NIC. Usha ji, can you say a few words about public sector before we go to the open session? Usha, you are there, am I right? I'm sorry, I'm just pointing because everybody was looking somebody from the government side, since you are very much actively involved on the government side as a director there.
Yeah, she's there.
Yeah. Usha ji, you are there? Hi, Usha, you are there?
Looks like she's away because I already requested to unmute, but she's not responding.
Okay, never mind. I think Saroj has raised the hand around. I don't know. Saroj, you have some question?
Yes, I have a number of questions. So as you know, Dr. Batra, I have been associated with contracts at Bharat Heavy Electricals for a very long time. And now that I have moved into teaching, and I teach a course on purchase and supply management. So what is very important, few things that you may kindly take note. So there was a WhatsApp membership, and that was completed by the time I could get associated. So I do not have any WhatsApp group, and I was informed that there would be another created. So I may get into that group. Number two is looking at the membership. So in that case, you could kindly look at or discuss it from an angle that some members would like to be associated as life members,
Okay.
right? So
That's
then it can be on a yearly basis, whosoever wants to do it. And thirdly, there should be a membership for students. From my side, since I am a teacher at an IOE university, so the point is, I am not sure about whether the student will, after taking the course, staying there for 2 years, showing the interest, showing some little work that they do at their organizations, if they come from any organization, or they are an FOB, that means a family owned business. So that is in the private sector, and procurement, purchase is a very important point for all of them. So student membership, which can be at a nominal rate, could be looked into. So you may have membership in the form of life membership on a yearly basis and as a student membership. Number two is I had enrolled myself through AI, Indian Institute of Management Association, for my examination once. That is in 2016, but I could not carry. But when I look into the website, I am there, I can apply, I can do that. So I need to understand, because I have paid that money, that was around 17,000 rupees that time. What is the process to revive that, and what exam, because certification is now becoming an important thing. So how I can look into that, that is my individual basis. So it is like that. So I encourage my students to do these certifications, and I do not know what happens to that. Number four is that how my center, I have a center, I run a center of supply chain and management. You have been visiting, you have been kindly giving your presence there occasionally. But something that the center can do on promoting this thought, because you are thought leaders from the government, you are thought leaders from the private sector, you are thought leaders from an association. So how we could get associated for a small project, small work that could be meaningful, helpful to you.
excellent, Sarojji. I think let me tell other people also. Saroj come from the academic background. Actually, we are already tying up with, I think, their institution as well. I think, I'm sorry I didn't get back to Saroj on this, but BITS Pilani has also already shown interest. Similarly, in the Northeast also, we have one institute. They are also shown their interest to become partner with us, because they can use this as a project for their own students who are doing PhD or whatever MBA's program. Sarojji, certainly that's a good idea around. Second, what you told about the life membership, we will explore that part. We'll get in touch with Shankar also and come back to you. Student membership certainly stands there around. And student membership is only 500. We have kept it even for all our program, even ISM USA also. Academicians and students, they come at a different group around. So don't worry. I think Sarojji will talk to you separately on this. So let me not get into the question and answers part, because we are not looking more as more ideas from you guys around. So I want to keep this floor now open in case, I don't know whether Sandeep has come up, then certainly we give floor to him, or Mr. Kabilan. Otherwise, the floor is open to everyone. Please come forward with your ideas, suggestions. Sarojji has come up around, even our board member has come up around. So please give us ideas so that we can make a wrap up plans, and then how do we do future? That's all. So please come up, it's your floor.
First of all, this is Sundaresh and Dr. Batra. Thank you for organizing. Really appreciate it. I have a question around, I have around 20 plus years of experience, and out of that, more than 12 years of experience in the digitization, specifically in the area of procurement. Now, the 4 different modules or 4 different courses, what we are opting, first is to know the rules of the game from a public procurement point of view.
Yeah.
Fine, that is something which I can pursue. But how can I contribute with my experience into digitization, even into the area of blockchain, AI? I have used some of these in my overall experience in the last 12 years. People have started talking about digitization now. I've been doing it for 12 plus years now at a global level. How can I bring those experience and share it with this platform or any platform or with your government organization per se? Quite a vivid follower what's happening from a blockchain point of view in China, how the yuan currency is emerging, how it is getting used in solving some of the supply chain aspects very clearly, be it the vendor management or the invoice automation and so on and so forth. So I would like to contribute as much as possible. Let me know in whatever way it is doable from a framework point of view. I'd be more than glad to do that. And it will be pro bono. I am not looking for a return out of it. It will be absolutely pro bono.
Excellent, excellent. I think certainly, as you know, we are doing one webinar on blockchain, I think next week. So I will expect that you guys could come up who have got a ground level experience around to come up with sharing of their thoughts around how blockchain could be very effective in procurement, smart contracts, whatever supply chain, whichever areas you want to come up and please let us know. We'll be very happy to organize a webinar so that people can. The bottom line, the way we look at it is a knowledge sharing. Since I've been associated with SIPs and ISM very effectively in the past, you can say 25, 30 years. The key thing is crowdsourcing of knowledge. It is not 5 or 6 people can give, one institution can give it. No, I think it is given by you people. You are the key partners around. So it's basically what we are looking around. The world is called crowdsourcing. So we need your idea. As you said on the blockchain, you're done. So please share your thoughts around. We'll be very happy to share with those. You can also share your thoughts. The floor is open to you on both the WhatsApp group. Please join us.
Sure, thank you. In fact, I am in the final process of writing an article on using blockchain vis-a-vis letter of credit. We have been using letter of credit for years together. How the world is going to change. I will share that with you, Mr. Batra. Personally, you have a look at it. Let me know. I'm willing to come and speak about it as well. Wherever.
Something close to my heart. We did one project for Estonia before I retired from the UN. We did project on blockchain in Estonia for the health project. We did for the election project. So I'm very eager to know more about it. So don't worry. Even the whole team, I'm sure, eager about it. Saroj has been very active on this. So
sure. Thank you.
On the blockchain. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Krishnan here. Just one point about this sharing of knowledge. Don't you think instead of the WhatsApp, do you select some of the points and put it on the website, and everybody can comment on that? WhatsApp discussion of ideas is a bit tough in a WhatsApp group. If somebody puts up and you want to comment, it becomes a big hassle to read it and then respond, and you forget the link, chain of thoughts. Anyway.
I'm open to that. I think whatever team is coming up, every idea is a wonderful idea, which we have done actually knowledge group around. I think Arun can explain later on. We have a knowledge group around on the website. So we have put few ideas around, like on logistics 3.4.0, supply chain 4.0, procurement 4.0. So we can come with these new ideas around there also. We'll be happy to do it.
But he's more looking for the discussion forum. Certainly, we are looking for the same, and we will create one discussion forum on the website so everyone can discuss over there, and all discussion will be on the record so everyone can see the earlier discussion also. In the WhatsApp, like people are not keeping the track on the discussion on the points, so on the side that will be feasible.
Very good. Yeah.
Thanks.
Guys, anyone else? We want to hear from all of you guys. Please come up with ideas around.
Mr. Batra, this is Robin from World Bank. May I please come in?
How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing fine. So good afternoon to all the colleagues. I would like to make a few suggestions. One thing which is coming up, across the board is probably we need to think of some formal way of, ensuring that the knowledge which is emerging as part of this association can be retained for a longer period of time. So towards that, I think one way that the association can think of is to create a LinkedIn group, which is, really making use of the resource which is already pre-existing. There are so many good LinkedIn pages where you can really make it a member only page, and then only members can see what are the activities happening on that page. And it also bring all the people together, because right now I think one of the limitation of the WhatsApp group is we don't really know who all are part of the association. But once the individuals are linked through the LinkedIn group, then you get to have everybody's profile automatically linked into that as well. Towards that end, I think it would also be useful if association can circulate around after certain regular period directory of all the members who are currently active members. I think that would also give a good sense in terms of who all are the members, what are their professional background, and probably the contact details as well, so that the flow of knowledge is seamless, because as my senior colleague Mr. Shankalal mentioned, that there are so many good islands of excellence, but at the end of the day these islands are not expanding. So I think that's where the association has a very vital role to play. So I think it need not to be really between the official forum for the association and the members. That shouldn't be the only way of connecting. It should be that the members have the opportunity of creating the informal connections through the informal networking. One additional suggestion that I would really like to make is, largely on the technology side. I think this is already talked in, adequate length. But the point is, going forward, probably 10 years down the line, the most happening thing that will be, hitting the procurement profession, or for that matter, any profession, would be the technology. And things would get changed in many different ways, and maybe in a disruptive ways as well. So probably it would be good to have certain formal courses around technology in procurement or public procurement specifically. I think that would really add value to the a knowledge quotient of the members. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Excellent. Before we forget, Robin, let me touch a few points what you said, and I want to hear from others as well. You talked about the LinkedIn group. LinkedIn group we do, because you should, I mean, just to tell you, we have around 25,000 members with us. So I know majority are from private sectors, and now I would say 80-20, 20% are from the public sector. So coming back to the LinkedIn, now we have a LinkedIn group which is already effective. Now, should we set up a separate for public sector, or should we combine? If it is combined, then we can always promote that group as well. This is where I want to get the feedback. I know sometimes we think public sector. At the end of the day, objective of both is same, public, private. I know we divide it because of the rules and regulation. Our rules are much more controlling, while in the case of private sector is a different concept. As Krishnan was saying also, the value is much more important to us, while here the compliance is more important to us. So can we have same LinkedIn group around than one?
Yeah, so my suggestion on that would be that we can always create a subgroup within a group, so that each member have the membership for the larger group, but at the same time there is a smaller group for the more specific discussions about the public procurement subject matters.
Okay, that's good. On the technology, we already have certification program, but I think that this is basically for the blockchain, but I think that's certainly we can offer to the public as this invitation.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
My name is Geeta Shivdasani. I'm from the World Bank. May I chip in for a second?
Please, welcome.
Thank you. I must admit I'm not a member yet, but I do intend to join. I got the invite and I could not resist joining the conversation here. So I had two suggestions for your consideration. One was the response, the question that you asked on whether you should have separate groups or for public and private sector. And we are just expressing views over here. My view is that we should have separate groups because the objectives of the private sector is profit making, whereas the objectives of the public sector, when we look at procurement, are different. It is not profit oriented, and that is the reason why I thought they should be separate groups with some linkages or subgroups, like Robin said, with some connection between the two groups, and that is something to deliberate about. My second submission was when we are in conversation with the government and we want to promote certain policies or good practices, where we fall behind is giving demonstrated benefits of why this has worked, and what could be the benefit to the other side, the government counterpart. While there is enough material available in terms of innovations, in terms of procurement practices done by the private sector that has brought in efficiencies in procurement value, however way you want to define it in terms of the conversation that is happening, when we go looking for demonstrated benefits in the public sector, for me personally, they are very hard to find. So procurement research with focus on public sector, because the government is a huge buyer from the private sector in terms of how efficiencies, how certain good practices adopted by other countries, and what works there may not necessarily work everywhere. However, as an example to push forth a point, I think it would be good. So demonstrated benefits of good public procurement practices in terms of procurement research is something that I wanted to put forth for the consideration of the larger group. Thank you. Over and out.
Excellent, Geeta ji. I think this is great. I think certainly it's again a marketing to create awareness, guys. We are saving something. We are not a cost center. If you can show the benefits, certainly it creates awareness to the government also. Yeah. Okay, guys. Anyone else? Now, let me put again the question. Whatever thoughts you have got, we have put down some broad questions around for your brainstorming. I'm not saying this exhaustive list around. You can come up with any things around how do you, like the question what we have put around, how do you feel about promoting PPI to your peers? You feel it makes sense? We want to hear from you. What excites you about PPI? I know some people have given some feedback. What would you like to learn more about, as Geeta said about, and even Robin said about technology? Others also said around. What are your thoughts about people development? I think, which I know Shankar said a big way, professionalization. That's a key bottom line. But what are the thoughts around what should be the company?
Shall I come in?
So please go ahead. These are the broad questions around. So anyone wants to come up with further thoughts?
I think a few people already raised the hand. Shamik Sethi, Krishnan, and Danisha Gaur. So I request if you can take one by one.
Good morning. This is Amit Sethi.
Yeah, hi. Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah. Good morning. This is Amit Sethi. So I hold experience around 10-20 years in public procurement, and I've mainly worked with management consulting firms, and presently I'm working with Ernst & Young for the last 5 years. My thought was around talk about capacity building of professionals. So in this context, I wanted to point out about a study that we had done back in 2016, and this study was actually about the future of jobs. So while we projected this study around different sectors which were in the manufacturing, and we did this study in the banking sector, since then there has been a thought in my mind about that whether I could actually replicate this study for the procurement industry, and specifically the public procurement industry. So I've been doing my little bit of background research on this. And in fact, in this context, I would also like to state that, in your initial objectives, Mr. Krishnan has talked about like various objectives that we have. I feel that amongst others, another objective we could have is, if we could really come out with studies and research, research papers. So these studies and research papers could be or may not be, say, presented to government depending on the interest groups. So coming back to the particular study, so during the course of this study, I seen that how like for example, in the banking sector, someone who was actually a teller or someone who was in the loans department, how his job scenario was evolving. And the same when I replicated to procurement professionals, and I could see that something which is so relevant to them in terms of whatever their capacity is today, that how they would need to upscale their capacity in terms of knowledge of various technologies, whether it is blockchain, whether it is artificial intelligence. So somebody today who is maybe coming with basic background in procurement, what kind of upskills would he need to survive in the market? And like last year, we participated in a tender from marketplace. They had come out with the agency for technical support agency, and I saw that although we didn't won that tender, but another consulting firm just like ours is providing today technical support, technical support to government e-marketplace. But almost 60% of the staff is all IT professionals. There are around 2 or 3 people from the procurement background. But even those guys are more or less well versed with blockchain and artificial intelligence and all those things. So basically, the trend of the industry is moving towards so much and towards, of course, technology. That's a fact, yes. But then, how is the overall job scenario evolving in the country? So that kind of a study, with a certain background, I could share some of my thoughts on that, if it's okay with the group members.
Good, Amitji. I think that is wonderful. If you can share your thoughts already on this, and you've done some study already. If your team has done, please.
So there was a comprehensive study which was already done. I would actually, so while that study was submitted to FICCI, and it was a comprehensive in nature for almost running into several thousand pages. But yes, specifically with the cooperation of the group members, I would like to replicate. Maybe I can actually share a concept paper on this. But wider scale is something that I would put across to the members, because actually this kind of a study, we circulated. It needs to be done with like for example, you circulate a survey sheet to all public procurement professionals, and they are asked to sort of give the answers to the survey sheets. Then we put their inputs into it, and then we come out with the research, and then we come out with our final findings and all. So right now, what I have is the concept paper around it, which I prepared, and I am ready to do it like pro bono also. I mean, just for the association, for the industry, this thing.
I think that's great to share the knowledge. Yeah. I know some people are putting on the chat in case they want to straightway join us, please do it, because then I don't know whether we'll have sufficient time to go through the chat points. So please come up, nothing to hide. Openly, whatever thoughts, good, bad, you can always welcome. Please come up.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon. This is Simon Chirwa. Sorry I joined late because I had another meeting. A few thoughts on the areas that I heard. One, in terms of how we group ourselves. My view is we should try maybe to look at some thematic areas and try to mix public and private. And I think those of us who are working in private and public can benefit a lot from the private. So certain thematic areas, for instance, on use of information technology, data and analytics, maybe those combining both private and public would be quite useful. But I also think maybe perhaps, Mr. President, maybe we could just send out a questionnaire to members to express their views on how they think we could be grouped in LinkedIn or other groups. I think that could be useful, so we get much more views from members. I think that could be very useful. We could also send out some sort of a questionnaire to indicate what areas of research we may need to carry out. I need to say that really the issue of research, there's so much research on public procurement globally, but maybe they may not be enough in India. I think it's important to carry out research and inform where we are going, or evaluate past initiatives that have been taken in public and private that can inform us where we are going. And one of the key issues that we really have to tackle, which has always been a challenge in research, is access to data. So I think that will be one of the areas to see if there's a demand for research, then we'll have to definitely have a lot of dialogue on the access to data, which normally is a challenge in this research. But welcome everyone, and thanks so much for your views. Thank you.
Excellent, Simon, for joining us and giving good ideas. And coming back, anyone else? I know if there.
Good afternoon, sir. Chirag here. Hello. Hello.
Yes, Chirag, go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Chirag here from Sourcing and Supply Chain. I am also working with Amul. And I had just gone through all this idea, and since we are running this platform, so I have few things to say regarding the LinkedIn page, what everyone is talking about. We should start a focused LinkedIn page for PPPAI, which is solely focused on public procurement part, where we can put this thoughts where we are asking, or discussions what we are doing on WhatsApp shall be posted on this particular page, where people can give their answers or views on the comments box. So people can interact with each other as well, and simultaneously they can see the profile who is answering to this question. And LinkedIn is a group where others are also seeing, so if interested people can automatically join into the page, where this is completely focused on public procurement. So it is required. The second point which I want to put is we should have a website where we can open such kind of discussion points or research points, where people from different areas, from public as well as private sector, can come and give their ideas and suggestions. As Mr. Sundareshan said, he wants to contribute as a crowdsourcing and deliver the knowledge he has gained over the period of 20 years, but there is no platform available. So this is the point where we can make a platform which can help to share the knowledge, which shall be a mix of public as well as private sector.
Yeah,
you are muted, I think.
Longer run.
Yeah, please go ahead, Chirag.
And two more points which I want to say, that we are using is the RFX document for floating tenders, inquiries, and each and everything, like a communication to vendor, contracts. So for that, if we can jointly make some standardized document which can be useful to the community, so that can be helpful for all the people of different departments of government as well as the private sector also, who are the membership on this. And one point is the analytics part, which you have talked about, that we are running short of analytics. So real-time case studies with the complete analytics shall be presented in form of webinar or talk shows, where we can understand how a particular technique shall be used and utilized to resolve a case, and what sort of results they get. Based on that, we can replicate for such kind of issues. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think looking at the time, I think we can take up two more questions and then we'd like to wrap up.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, Mr.
Good afternoon. So should we do the?
Good afternoon, sir. I am Anjula Nayak. I am from the defense sector.
Yes,
I have worked for about 20-25 years in the area of procurement with the Department of Defense, also involved with policy formulation and worked as a consultant for framing of their manuals, and acting as a resource person and trainer presently for the armed forces. Now, my basic thing is that I want to draw the attention of this group on this World Summit 2002, which was on sustainable development, which asked nations to promote public procurement policies that encourage development and diffusion of environmentally sound goods and services. Now, so far as the defense is concerned, you would be aware that procurement decision is based on an optimal combination of whole life costs and benefit to meet the customer requirements. So that is an important thing. We look at the whole life costs of the equipments or systems which we are procuring. The process envisages organizations' needs for goods, works, and utilities, that they are met, that they achieve value for money on a whole life cost basis for the entity. But with this sustainable, this World Summit's concern on sustainable development, we felt that this needs to be coupled up by saying that not only we have to look at the whole life basis for the profits or the benefit to the entity who is procuring, but also for the society and economy, while minimizing damages to the environment. Which means that you choose a supplier or a contractor who gives the most optimal combination of costs and benefits on a whole life basis, and also generates maximum value for the society and economy with least damage to the environment. So what I want to bring out is that in this forum, this professional forum that we are having, we must recognize that sustainability has become a strategic driver for professional procurement. So I feel that this aspect has not been raised anywhere.
Excellent. I think, Anjula, what you said is very right. In 2002, we had a Kyoto workshop. I was heading the UN on this subject. I think greening is very important around, but in the past, I mean, I can see there's still a long way to go.
And we are not giving it focus even now.
I know even my own things, when I was used to chair the UN on the sustainability part, now I still see, I don't write any article on this because I don't see much, I mean, I don't know, reception much from the people. So maybe good to have you. I think, Anjula, we could work on it, not an issue. Sustainability.
Thank you.
And Mr. Udit was there, so if you can unmute yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Udit. I have an experience of around 7 years in Bharat Electronics Limited. I worked as a procurement engineer there, and right now I am pursuing my MBA in France. And I'm really excited to join this group, and especially into the discussion with so many, you can say, really great ideas coming up. I want to add one thing, that public procurement that we are discussing about, and especially to Mr. Batra, that maybe he is going to help us a lot in this matter, that why not we can connect with some public procurement professional from other countries as well. In the sense that they can always share their expertise, especially those public procurement professionals who are retired or who can join through LinkedIn or some other, you can say, networking sites or something, and may always be with us for some sessions or some webinars. What are your thoughts about it?
Excellent, Udit. I think you guys have given us so much work to us. Now we'll have to see how to implement it. I think this is also good ideas around. We are already working with two organizations, one OECD, one NIGP in the US. NIGP has come up in a very commercial way. Let me be honest with you, I was not very happy with that. But OECD, we are expecting some good feedback. And with Japan also, we are in touch because we have ISM Japan, we have ISM China. But at least Japan, we are working very closely. And I'll get back to you. Certainly, this is in our pipeline, and we're working on it. And Shankar also told us to join with some key players abroad. And then certainly who are retired professionals abroad, we'll look into that. I think that's certainly a good idea. We're making up a list, and then certainly with the board meeting, we'll have once, and then we'll come back to your action plan. Anyone, one last one more. I think we don't want to delay you a last time or something. One more, anyone wants to come up the last? I know we have many chat points. We'll get back to them separately.
So I just want to add something to what.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm Anjula Naib again.
Yep.
What I'm saying is, if we are going to make a group, whether it is on LinkedIn or WhatsApp or whatever way, we need to have the private sector along with the public sector, because if we want to arrive at solutions which are acceptable to both the sides, the brainstorming has to be between the two sides, so that we can appreciate the concerns of the private sector, and the private sector can also understand the constraints of the government and rather the concerns of the government. Because somebody has asked a question in the chat that what's the difference between public procurement and private procurement? Public procurement is for goods and services which are going to be utilized for the public at large. And therefore, this concern for the public who is ultimately going to benefit from whatever is being constructed or whatever is being procured. Because the user, the end user is not the buyer. The end user is the person who is actually going to benefit from that resource which is being created.
Certainly, Angela.
Mr. President, I just want to thanks, ma'am. I 100% agree with what ma'am is saying. But just a suggestion, Mr. President, perhaps we could on the website create areas of specialization for all the members. I can see a lot of members here have a lot of experience in sustainable procurement in many aspects. So perhaps on the website, if we can be sort of import, so in case we need a resource to provide the webinar leadership on sustainable procurement or data and analytics, then we know which are the people that basically we can look into. So somehow a sort of a specialization or putting ourselves in ports where we have experience could help us also develop further where we need some expertise. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, guys, if nothing else has got anyone else around, let me wrap up one good thing around. So anyone last ones before I wrap up and close it? So the way it comes up around is certainly everybody has emphasized the need of professionalization. Everybody has emphasized the need of sharing the knowledge around. That is very clear. Now the modality part and the competency part, whether we, for which should we go competency by competency, should we have separate LinkedIn group? I think that factor is coming very clearly around that everybody wants a PD, this one, PPPAI should have his own separate site, separate group by group. They don't want to mix up much with the private sector. Let private sector be encouraged that guys, you come and join us here. So I can understand that part around the knowledge sharing, thought sharing. So we'll try to see how we can make best of it. What we will do is, I mean, we are trying to get most of the points here around. We'll summarize it. We'll share with you what we are doing it. And all of you will share you. If you have any feedback, please let us know. So within a week, you will get everything around. And then we'll start working on it. And we'll give you the time frame as well. If it is okay with you, should we have this step, since we are still at the infant stage, should we have this meeting like insights meeting after every alternate months? Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, sir, definitely, sir.
Okay, good. So I will also expect the Shankar because he's our lead and supporter. So Shankar ji, is it okay if we do alternate months, this type of meetings?
Hello?
In the future meeting will not be only the brainstorming, it will be also explaining from our side what we have done.
Hello?
Saroj ma'am suggested Saturday every month.
Mr. Batra, I think from our side, it is most welcome step.
Okay, super. Because I know we could do once a month, but it becomes too much heavy because to show results, it takes time. So I thought we could do in future once an alternate months around.
Hello?
Yes, Vikas, you are there?
I am Vikas Agrawal from Nasik.
Yes, please, Vikas. No, Vikas.
Very good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I must appreciate all the initiative which you are taking place because this is the right time. I hope so, because the present situation is very high pandemic and people require this digital procurement 4.0 what you had explained. And my only thing is that whatever we are going to do, we have to see the difference between education system as well as different public procurement company, because there is a huge gap. I am working in that. I am also IIM member in the Institute of Material Management since last 10 years, and we are also working in the similar fashion. So jointly we can work together very well between IIM and all. Let's see how it will work and how we can go ahead.
Certainly, more the merriers, more institutions can join together, certainly, not a second thought around. But I agree with you, the focus still has been, because India has never been a very supply chain hub, let's be honest. Our export is very limited. So in that sense, if we want to become the supply chain hub, we want to be that, I think our whole concept of this has to change. That we have to move into digital, there's no second thought.
Fully agree. Appreciate.
Okay,
Fully
guys,
agree.
with this, Shankar, you want to say anything last before we close?
No, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I think it was very productive session and we have got a lot of bright ideas. So let us work on implementation. And whenever we meet again, we will provide the progress on whatever we have done in last months or so. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, guys. Enjoy the weekend. Have a good time.